Hey everyone, in my next few videos I'm going to show you how we can run a server-side document generation with just a click of the button. So there will be no input screens, we don't have to provide or select the template or anything like that. But it'll be across a few different videos. So this first one will just be how we can run this server-side Omniscript without much user input. So this is just a clone from the one that came with static resources. So I'm just going to quickly go through and show you how we can hide some of the screens. First things first, I'm just going to go into my document template and I'm just going to get the template ID because we're going to hard code this into our Omniscript. So back in the Omniscript, we'll just scroll down and we'll have a look at some of the steps that are being called here. So we have this server-side docgen, the server-side docgen with token data, and the PDF generation one. And they all have visibility rules. So we can see that this one needs to be run when the SAM service function equals generate document. Now, because we're going to set this all up, we can delete some of the steps that we don't need. So we're going to remove this one and this one. And then for this one, we want it to run all the time. So I'm just going to remove that visibility rule. And then if we just have a look at what's being called here. So we're sending through the template ID and we've got a few other things here. So I'm just going to put the template ID from my clipboard into the payload here. And then we can essentially remove this step here, which is the get document templates data raptor, and also the template over there. And then having a look at the generation options step, so you can see that we've got the service function over there, which we don't need anymore. Our output file format at the moment is set to all. Well, that's the default there. Otherwise, we can have, let's have a look. We can have docx or pptx or PDF. So we're going to go with PDF, I think, for this example. So if we come down into set values, firstly we can get rid of the select template over there. Template type will be Microsoft Word. The title we can get rid of in a moment. We can get rid of this one as well. We don't need the template ID because we're already sending it later in the integration procedure. Object ID will come back to, so output file format, we're going to make this PDF. And we don't need the token one. We're going to make this PDF as well. This is the attached file format. And same with the download file format. We're just going to make that PDF as well. Okay. Document title, we're going to get rid of that one. And then coming into the integration procedure, we'll just have a look at what else we've got here. We've got the title. So in this particular one, we can set values up above where we can define what we want the title to be. For now, I'm just going to leave it as it is. I'm going to also get rid of this return as PDF and also this keep intermediate one there as well. So what I'm going to do now is just preview it to make sure that it's working. I know that we still have the enter object step over here, but we'll just test it to make sure it works. And this data raptor or this template is using the ID from contact. So I'm just getting that contact ID and putting it in there. And we're just going to check to make sure that this works. So it's saying that it ran successfully, and we'll just confirm that it has. And I have used this account for a few things before, or this contact rather. So that's today with today's time. So let's just open that up and make sure it's worked. So it's just a really simple document. We've got just some fields coming in from contact over there. So that's worked properly. So what we can do now is go back in and we will now work on the contact ID that we're sending through. So I always like to create a new version before I do any significant changes. So we'll do that now. So coming in, we've got our object ID that we're providing, template type, which I think we're actually defined, or we have already defined over there. So the other fields that we need to look after now are object ID, and context ID. And then scrolling through here, we have the object ID, which is referenced over there, and title. So I'm going to now delete this generate options step, or generation options. We don't need that one. I'm also looking at our error handling and our response. So this is the success and error message. I will eventually delete those, but for the purpose of this video, I'm going to leave them in until right till the end. So coming up, what we need in this integration procedure is object ID. And at the moment, that's mapping to context ID, which up in here, I believe, is the value from this object ID. So I'm just going to quickly put in a set values. And I'm going to make this object ID. And for this example, I'm just going to hard code in the contact ID like that. And coming through here, I'm going to get rid of object ID. Let me just double check something. Context ID. I'm going to make this one object ID. In fact, what I'm going to do is rename this to contact ID. And then coming back here, I'm going to make this contact ID like that. And then in here, I'm going to remove this context ID. So all we have are the values from the template or the generation options. I can actually go ahead in there and put in, I'm going to do this instead, put my contact ID here. And remove this step just so we don't have any unnecessary steps. I'm then safe to delete this one. So all we have is one, I'll just compress these. All we have now are these 4 steps. So one being to set the template type, output file format, and so forth, recalling the contact ID, and then in this integration procedure, resending contact ID and template ID, and this time we need a title, and I'm going to make this contact ID as well. And let's activate that and test it. Okay, so preview. Okay, so it's saying it's inactive. This happens a fair bit. So all I'm doing is just going to empty cache and hard reload, and hopefully that'll work now. Let's preview again. So required parameter not found, context ID, which is strange because we removed it before, even though we're sending in the object ID and everything there. So let's go back and have a look at what's going on. I might just try in here, just add context ID just to see what happens, and we'll put in the same value. Just to see if this now works. Still saying context ID, but what I'm going to do is just refresh the page. So that's worked now. I'm not completely sure why adding the context ID in there worked, but let's just confirm that it's actually created and added to the contact, which it has. So I have changed the name to the actual ID, so it's appearing there. So coming back in, I just want to tidy that up a little bit. So what I'm going to do with my set values now is make this the same as contact ID. So we'll just save that. Let's activate that and preview it one more time. Saying invalid ID. So let's have a look at what's going on there. And it's bringing the ID from before. We'll deactivate that. Just going to test something by putting in another set values over there. And then remove it from there. Let's activate that and try again. And let's see what happens now. It looks like it's worked now. I'm not sure if it's because it's in the same step or not. I must say this is probably one of my least favorite things to do in document generation, is to remove these steps. I've attempted to record this video multiple times, and every time I've had issues like that. But just really quickly, I just want to show you how this is how we can remove most of the steps. It's essentially just clicking one button and that gets generated. So we have got these error handling steps here, and generally it's a good idea to keep them. I think in this instance, because of the success, I'm just going to create a new version. I guess we do want to know when there's an error, but potentially for the success we don't really care. So I am going to now remove the success one, and we'll activate it and we'll test it one more time. And then in my next video, I'll show you how, rather than hard coding in that contact ID, because that's not appropriate at all, we'll create a button, whether it be through a flex card or through a Lightning web button, where we then send that contact ID like that. So stay tuned for those next videos where I show you how to do that. Okay, so we'll just test this one more time, and I'll do a proper refresh. So we'll preview. Okay, we have nothing, so that's good. And then if we come back into the contact, and that is the time now, so that document has been generated properly.